A man is like a rusty wheel on a rusty cart, and he sings this song as he rattles along, and then he falls apart. And we'll sing hallelujah at the turning of the year, and we'll work all day in the old-fashioned way till the shining star appears. A man is like a three-stringed fiddle hanging upon the wall. He can play when somebody scrapes on the bar, or he can't play at all. And we'll sing hallelujah at the turning of the year, and we'll work all day in the old-fashioned way till the shining star appears. A man is like a briar, he covers himself with thorns, and he laughs like a clown when his fortunes are down and his clothes are ragged and torn. And we'll sing hallelujah at the turning of the year, and we'll work all day in the old-fashioned way till the shining star appears. A man is like his father, he wishes he never was born, and he longs for the time when his clock will chime and he's dead forevermore. And we'll sing hallelujah at the turning of the year, and we'll work all day in the old-fashioned way till the shining star appears.
"'Twas homeward bound one night on the deep, swinging in my hammock I fell asleep. I dreamed a dream and I thought it true, concerning Franklin and his gallant crew. With 100 seamen he sailed away to the frozen ocean in the month of May, to seek a passage around the pole, where we poor seamen do sometimes go. Through cruel hardships they mainly strove, their ship on mountains of ice was drove. The Eskimo in his skin canoe was the only one who ever came through. In Baffin's Bay where the whalefish blow, the fate of Franklin no man may know. The fate of Franklin no tongue can tell. Lord Franklin with his sailors do dwell. And now my burden it gives me pain, for my long-lost Franklin I would cross the main. 10,000 pounds would I freely give to know on earth that my Franklin do live.
It's a wonder how the masters can such machinery make, 10,000 wheels together roll without the least mistake. No more I'll lay me bobbins up, no more I'll take 'em down, no more I'll do me dirty work, for I'm going out of town. Come all you weary factory girls, I'll have you understand, I'm going to leave the factory and return unto the land. No more I'll lay me bobbins up, no more I'll take 'em down, No more I'll do me dirty work, for I'm going out of town. For since they've knocked me wages down to just 9 bob a week, if I cannot beg to wages make, another job I'll seek. No more I'll lay me bobbins up, no more I'll take 'em down, no more I'll do me dirty work, for I'm going out of town. The factory bell rings out its toll at 6 o'clock each morn, and even spinners young and old come at the break of dawn. No more I'll lay me bobbins up, no more I'll take 'em down, no more I'll do me dirty work, for I'm going out of town. In 84 degrees of heat, as thin as rakes are they. If the window he should open out, you bet we'd have to pay. No more I'll lay me bobbins up, no more I'll take 'em down, no more I'll do me dirty work, for I'm going out of town. It's a wonder how the masters can such machinery make, 10,000 wheels together roll without the least mistake. I wish I was in Lancashire, a-hunting of the hare, all across the wide moorland, through hollows brown and bare, hearkening to the good hand's cry, hearkening to the horn, far away in Lancashire, on a good fine hunting morn. I wish I was in Lancashire, among the folk I know, ranging all the countryside, through all the winds that blow, as they blew when we were lads, in the place where I was born, far away in Lancashire, on a windy morn. There's greatly hounds in Lancashire, and that I'll tell you true. There's greatly hills in Lancashire, no better art of view. There's greatly lads in Lancashire as ever have been born, and I wish I was in Lancashire on a windy morn. Coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain. There's a battle to be won on the stock exchange and on the dole, selling garden gnomes and digging coal. It's coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, everyone. Oh, it's coats off for Britain, says Her Majesty, from the bottom of her very gracious heart, trying to boost the nation with a royal proclamation to encourage everyone to play his part. While politicians palter and the bills remain unpaid, a step will never falter and a smile will never fade. Dutifully doing things she's born and bred to do, working hard from morn till late, receiving dreary heads of state, arranging royal weddings and a royal birth or two, for me and you to pull us through. And on the Royal Yacht Britannia they'll be singing then, coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain. There's a battle to be won on the stock exchange and on the dole, selling garden gnomes and digging coal. It's coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, everyone.
Well, it's coats off for Britain, says the businessman, flying to his island in the sun, trying to boost the nation, selling cures for constipation, got to keep the British worker on the run. He's a patriotic gentleman, just put him to the test. give him the incentive, and in Britain he'll invest. But if inflation starts to bite and strikes become a strain, and profit margins start to shrink, he'll have to have another think, and maybe move his money into properties in Spain.
He's not to blame, you do the same, and from his overseas tax haven he'll be singing then. Coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, there's a battle to be won on the stock exchange and on the dole, selling garden gnomes and digging coal. It's coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, everyone.
Oh, it's coats off for Britain, says the high-class call girl, in and out of bed all day, trying to boost the nation with a bit of copulation.
If you're British, she'll be giving it away.
Sheiks fly in from Abu Dhabi, politicians from Peru. Forget Westminster Abbey, it's my charms have come to view.
She's got the diplomatic corps in tow from Holland to Hong Kong.
My speciality's a winner, I could make a saint a sinner, as I strike my patriotic pose and fill them with this song.
With nothing on, she can't go wrong. She's got their expectations rising as they sing along. Coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, there's a battle to be won on the stock exchange and on the dole, selling garden gnomes and digging coal. It's coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, everyone.
Oh, it's coats off for Britain, says the working man, screwing little screws non-stop,
trying to boost the nation with a dash of perspiration.
Though he'll never climb the ladder to the top.
Well, the country's in a crisis, so don't strike for higher pay.
We must all make sacrifices and work harder every day.
We've got to pull our belts in, it's the same for rich and poor.
Today the cupboard's empty, but tomorrow there'll be plenty.
It's the same old song, we've heard it all a million times before. In peace and war, don't ask for more. They're always singing it. Coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, there's a battle to be won on the stock exchange and on the dole, selling garden gnomes and digging coal. It's coats off, coats off, coats off for Britain, everyone.
The October winds lament around the castle of Dromore, yet peace is in her lofty halls, my loving treasure store. The autumn leaves may droop and die, a bud of spring are you. Sing you, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo, lowland sing, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo. Send no ill will to hinder us, my helpless babe and me. Dread spirits of the black water, Clan Owen's wild banshee, and Holy Mary, pitying us, in heaven for grace doth sue. Sing you, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo, lowland sing, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo. Take time to thrive, my ray of hope, in the garden of Dromore.
young eaglet, till your wings are feathered fit to soar. A little time, and then the world is full of things to do. Sing you, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo, lowland sing, hush-a-bye, lo-la-loo. I like to rise when the sun she rises early in the morning. I like to hear them small birds singing merrily upon the lalum, and hurrah for the life of a country boy, and to ramble in the new mown hay.
In the spring we sow, at the harvest mow,
and that is how the seasons round they go. But of all the times, if to use I may, 'twould be rambling in the new mown hay. For I like to rise when the sun she rises early in the morning. I like to hear them small birds singing merrily upon the lalum, and hurrah for the life of a country boy, and to ramble in the new mown hay.
In winter when the sky is grey,
we had Jan, we ditch our time away, but in summer when the sun shines gay, we'd go rambling in the new mown hay. For I like to rise when the sun she rises early in the morning. I like to hear them small birds singing merrily upon the lalum, and hurrah for the life of a country boy, and to ramble in the new mown hay.
We meet 'neath the sounding rafters, and the walls around are bare. As they echo to our laughter, 'twouldn't seem that the dead were there. Who dreads to the dead returning? Who thinks of that sable shore, where the high and the haughty yearning for the souls will be no more? Time was when we frowned on others, we thought we were wiser then. But now let us all be brothers, for we never may meet again. So stand to your glasses steady, for it's all we have left to prize. Quaff the cup to the dead already, and one to the next who dies. But a truce to this mournful story, for death is a distant friend. And here's to a life of glory, and a laurel to crown each end.
Oh, my name it is Mark Bennett, I am a Yorkshire man. I earns me living by my pen, tell a stirring tale I can. And the one I tell you now, boys, was writ by foolish men. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. Come all you young married men, you men of the bulldog breed. We're looking for the strong and brave, that's what Britannia needs. For we'll fight the Hun in Flanders and the Germans on the Seine. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. Oh, we first set out to Egypt, where the heat was hard to bear. We were waiting for the call to France, for the Boche were fighting there. And we talked of what we'd do, boys, brother, son and friend. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. Well, at last we heard that the push was on, so we sailed across the Med. But we little thought that in 2 weeks' time would most of us be dead. And the girls at home would weep with a grief that's hard to mend. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. With shouts of joy we lads did charge towards the German wire. Our handsome mate was the first to fall as the guns they opened fire. His face no longer handsome, on the barbed wire met his end. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. We had a sergeant major, bold by nature, bold by name. But the German guns don't pick and choose, bold died just the same. And the other gallants followed, their kind of life to spend. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. But we did not want to lose you, but we thought you ought to go. Your king and country needed you, Lord Kitchener told you so. And now the story I've told you, it was writ by foolish men. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again. And the petals fell from the rose of York, never to bloom again.
One day I smashed the television. It was a very bad thing to do, 'cause Dad was watching Grandstand and waiting for Doctor Who. But me, I was waiting for something else. A friendly word or a bit of a chat, like, "How are we, son? How's young Jim? Have you heard?" But no one cared, no one dared to laugh or chat or sing. They're all bowed down to the television set, so I smashed the bloody thing. The day I smashed the television, me Dad was feeling low. He wanted to go off somewhere, but he didn't know where to go. Wouldn't it be nice, he thought, if we could go to Italy, France or Spain? But he couldn't do it all right then, so he turned on the telly again. And that was at 6:30 as we was having tea, and no one said a word out of respect for ITV. The day I smashed the television, my sister was late from school. She'd had her first exams that day, she was early as a rule. She asked us some of the questions that she didn't understand. "Shut up!" they cried. "Can't you see it's Disney Wonderland?" Well, Betty ran out of the room in tears, 'cause she was too young to know that if you've anything to say when the telly's on, you better shut up or go. The day I smashed the television, they said I was acting odd. I didn't finish me baked beans, and I asked Dad if he believed in God. I said dafter things like, "How are we all? Anyone read any good books?" So they gave me the TV Times to read and a few suspicious looks. It was then that I decided that the set would have to go. Well, just as soon as I finished watching the Frankie Howard show. Well, I watched the Frankie Howard show, and when it was finished and done, I had to watch Rolf Harris, 'cause he's always a bit of fun. Well, I watched Rolf Harris and the news and the weather forecast and that. I did the washing up for Mum and fed the bloody cat. And then there didn't seem much point in smashing the telly, so I left it where it was. And so, every night, here I sit, watching telly, just because.
Oh, Charlie is a funny kid, you'll hear the neighbours say, and you will never find him where the other children play, for Charlie is a solitary kind of little boy. The flowers are his playmates and the earth's his only toy. By the flickering television stands a vacant chair. There's an all-star show tonight, but Charlie doesn't care, for in the misty meadow where the daisies blow, Charlie is watching the flowers grow. Well, Charlie watches life go by and dreams a sunny dream of field mice in the meadow grass and tadpoles in the stream. He listens for the cuckoo's chimes and hears the blackbird's song, and Charlie's got a feeling that they won't be with us long. By the flickering television stands a vacant chair. There's an all-star show tonight, but Charlie doesn't care, for in the misty meadow where the moonbeams glow, Charlie is watching the flowers grow. Well, Charlie's kingdom vanishes a little every day, for the countryside is shrinking and the mice have moved away, and trees and flowers will disappear before the hand of man. And Charlie wants to see them all and touch them while he can. By the flickering television stands a vacant chair. There's an all-star show tonight, but Charlie doesn't care, for in the misty meadow where the stars hang low, Charlie is watching the flowers grow.
Pull down, lads, pass the bevy round, lads. Ta-ra to Sylvie, ta-ra to Jean. We'll soon be on the road. Don't think on what you're leaving, don't think on what you've found. Just tear off the tilt, pull out the chat. We'll find another ground. Pull down, lads, it wasn't a bad ground, lads. We've made some brass, you've had a lass. It's perhaps as well we're going. I know how it can hurt, lads, to leave us standing here. For there's often fears, and there's always tears, but you'll be back next year. Pull down, lads, the sets are cooling down, lads. The ark's all packed, and the dodgems stacked. A bite a scran, then go. We'll leave it as we found it, they'll soon forget we've been. For we trade in fun, and we go and come. We're often scorned, but seldom mourned. Oh, I hope you know what I mean.